Welcome to the Padres Postgame Show on the Padres Radio Network. Coming up, we'll deliver a full recap of today's game, including highlights from the biggest moments. We'll take a trip down to the manager's office to hear from Mike Shildt. Plus, we'll bring you scores from around Major League Baseball. The Padres Postgame Show starts now on the Padres Radio Network.
Welcome into our post-game show here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score in Arizona, the Diamondbacks 11 and the Padres 2, as the Diamondbacks take game number 162 of the season. Tough one today for the Padres in Arizona, but as we'll get into, obviously a game that did not mean much to the Padres here today. They have known for a couple of days now that they will play on Tuesday in Game 1 of the NL Wild Card Series. Against who, at what time? We don't know. That'll be on Tuesday, though, at Petco Park. We do know that much, and we'll see what that opponent looks like coming in, as the Braves are currently playing the Kansas City Royals in Atlanta right now. We'll get into that in a second. First things first, we welcome you into our post-game coverage here on the Padres Radio Network. Padres finished the regular season with the second-best record in franchise history at 93-69. They become just the second team in franchise history to get to 93 wins. The 1998 team won 98 games, but aside from that 98 team that went to the World Series, the Padres finished with the second best record in the team's regular season history. A wonderful regular season, wonderful second half. They finish at 93-69. The Diamondbacks are still at the moment alive in the postseason race. They will still be alive heading into tomorrow. They finished the regular season at 89-73, as again the Padres fall 11-2 in Arizona. And in our next segment, we'll get into the particulars of this game. We'll get into Martin Perez, Matt Waldron. We'll get into Luis Arraez picking up his 200th hit of the season. Great accomplishment for Luis, and we'll also discuss why Luis is very likely at this point going to win another batting title, his third consecutive batting title, and his first with the Padres. We'll get into that a little bit later, because right now it would take really a big time effort from Marcell Ozuna of the Braves in tomorrow's doubleheader to overtake Arraez. Shohei Ohtani finishes behind Arraez in batting average, so we'll get into that a little bit later. But what we are paying attention to right now, the Braves are trailing the Royals 4-2 in the ninth inning. A runner on first base. There are two outs in the bottom half of the ninth inning in Atlanta. In fact, Ozzie Albies is down to his final strike, the Braves' final strike in Atlanta. If that score holds in Atlanta with the Royals beating the Braves, this is what it would mean with the Mets winning today and the Diamondbacks winning today. It would mean that the Mets and Braves have to play both games of tomorrow's doubleheader. The winner of Game 1 in that doubleheader would guarantee themselves a playoff spot. And then we'll get to that in a second. The Royals have just beat the Braves, so this has gone final. Royals have beat the Braves 4-2 in Atlanta, and it sets up absolute chaos in the National League wild card scenario, the National League wild card standing. So let's recap it now, because this is really, and I know we're welcoming you into the post-game show, Padres Radio Network, but this all in some way or another affects the Padres and who they may play on Tuesday and what that team has to do on Tuesday. So now with that score final in Atlanta, here's what happened today. Mets won, Diamondbacks beat the Padres, the Braves lose. So the Mets and Braves will have to play both games of tomorrow's doubleheader in Atlanta. The Mets now have to go from Milwaukee, where they were playing today. They won 5-0, to Atlanta. They'll play a doubleheader tomorrow. And at the moment, neither the Mets nor the Braves are guaranteed of a playoff spot. One of those teams will go to San Diego for the start of the NL Wild Card Series on Tuesday. So here's the scenario now for tomorrow. The Braves need one win in tomorrow's doubleheader to make the playoffs. The Mets would also need one win. So the only way those two teams make it out of the doubleheader tomorrow is if they split the doubleheader. If the Braves win 2, Braves in, Mets out. Mets win 2 tomorrow, Mets in, Braves out, and the beneficiary of a sweep on both sides, or really a sweep on either side, if the Mets sweep it, if the Braves sweep it, the beneficiary would be the Diamondbacks. The only way the D-backs get in is if there's a sweep of that doubleheader tomorrow. So again, the winner of, well, let's say the Braves win tomorrow, game one of that doubleheader. They're coming to San Diego. Then it's a question of if they sweep the doubleheader. But here's what we know. It will either be the Mets or the Braves coming to San Diego on Tuesday for the start of a wild card series. But we will not know the answer to that until at least, tomorrow afternoon at some point when game one, at least of that doubleheader, is over. So it turns into chaos where both games of that doubleheader tomorrow are really important. It was thought that Major League Baseball was leaning the way of if the postseason spots were decided today, they actually wouldn't play that doubleheader tomorrow in Atlanta. They wouldn't worry about the seeding part of it if the berths were already secured. But that's not the situation. I'll tell you what, and I tweeted this out earlier. Even though the Padres lost this game, and I'm sure there are some of you out there that would have loved to have seen them win this game and pick up a 94th win, they didn't. They fall 11-2. But you can make the argument very, very easily that the Padres losing this game today created the ideal scenario for them. Because again, what it means is that the Mets or Braves now have to come to San Diego on Tuesday, not after just playing one game tomorrow, but having to play 2 games tomorrow. And we'll see what the starting pitching looks like for both teams. But now these become enormous games. So the idea, for example, of the Braves not pitching Chris Sale tomorrow, we'll see. He may throw game one of that series tomorrow, unless the Braves decide to hold them back. And if they're in a must-win situation in game 2, they throw him there. But they now have to take those games really seriously. And again, one of those teams either way has to come to San Diego. So you're getting a team now that's coming off a doubleheader the day before. Everything that comes with that, a cross-country flight to play the next day, using your quality arms, both starting-wise and in the bullpen. So again, even though the Padres lost today, from a competition standpoint of where things are going to be Tuesday, let's be honest about it. This worked out really nicely for the Padres. Advantage Padres. Now, does that mean anything when the wild card series starts on Tuesday? It doesn't. It's baseball. It's sports. Anything can happen. We'll see how the series goes, and hopefully it goes well for the Padres beginning on Tuesday. But when you looked at all the scenarios coming into today and you thought, okay, what's best for the Padres regardless of this result in Arizona today? Forget about the win and loss in Arizona today. What's best in the playoff picture for the Padres? They got the best result today because, again, the Mets and the Braves now have to play both games of that doubleheader tomorrow. And we don't know what's going to happen, but one of them's coming here after a doubleheader across the country. So does it mean anything? In reality, not necessarily, but it's a tough task. I mean, you want to talk about really being put in a tough situation. And look, there was the hurricane. Look, you could argue Major League Baseball, maybe they should have done it differently with the scheduling. But reality is this is what it is now, and this is the situation they have. So fascinating. And I guess as a baseball fan, a pure baseball fan, how about this? You're going to get one more day of regular season chaos behind the day that's usually reserved for game 162, because you think that the Diamondbacks aren't going to be glued to that game tomorrow, that baseball fans in general are not going to be glued to that doubleheader tomorrow. And Tony alluded to this a little bit earlier on the post-game wrap-up. The other really interesting part of this, and then we'll go to break, the other really interesting part of this is whoever wins game 1 tomorrow, whether it's the Mets or the Braves, they will have clinched a spot in the postseason. But then the question becomes, how hard does the team that wins game 1 go after game 2? Because they could knock that team out of the postseason altogether, again, by sweeping a doubleheader. The only way the Diamondbacks get in is if there's a sweep tomorrow for either team. A split does the D-backs no good. A split does the D-backs no good, but it does both teams good. It's a fascinating fascinating scenario tomorrow. Really, really is. So, again, from a Padres standpoint, they know they're playing Tuesday. They don't know against who yet. We may not know that until late in the day tomorrow. We don't know what time yet. But, hey, even though they lost this game 11-2, from a playoff standpoint, you could very well argue it worked out as best it could for the Padres despite losing this game. Let's step aside. We'll come back. We'll have the radio highlights, talk about what happened in Arizona today. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Arizona wins it 11-2 at Chase Field today in Phoenix. Our postgame show continues when we return. Our postgame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score, Diamondbacks 11 and the Padres 2. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we wrap this one up. Game number 162, the finale of the regular season. Padres finish up the year 93-69. And when you win 93 games in a season, that is a great year. Padres, of course, a wonderful second half. And now they will turn their attention to the postseason beginning on Tuesday against some team at some time. And if you're just getting into the party here, a little bit late to the party, into what's been going on the last few days, well, the reason we say that is that we don't know yet. Mets and Braves are going to play a doubleheader due to those postponed games earlier in the week, and that will determine, number one, who makes the postseason. Diamondbacks, who won today against the Padres, are still alive, and where those teams will be going. You should know this just from a Padres perspective, and then we'll get a little bit into today's game. I don't want to, totally discount the Padres game that happened today, but obviously there's some big stuff going on otherwise in the NL that's more consequential, and certainly consequential to the Padres. But the good way to think about it, from a Padres standpoint, it's the Mets or Braves coming here. And the only way the Mets end up coming to San Diego for the wild card series is if they win both tomorrow. If the Braves win one, if the Braves win both, they come to San Diego. So that's the way to think about it. The Braves need one win to come to San Diego, and if they get two, okay. And the Mets need to sweep that doubleheader. So from a Padres standpoint, it's actually pretty simple on figuring out who will head this way. Of course, there's more implications beyond that, because if the Mets lost two, if the Braves lost two, that would then open the door for the D-backs to get in and go to Milwaukee. So enough about that for a little bit. We'll get deeper and deeper into the different scenarios and what it might mean pitching-wise for the Braves tomorrow and the Mets tomorrow and all that. But let's talk about this game that happened in Arizona. Padres fall 11-2. Let's recap it from start to finish.
What moments had the biggest impact on today's game? We'll paint you a picture with our game recap on the Padres Radio Network.
This game got off to a very nice start for the Padres. In the top of the second, there was a runner on first base for Elias Diaz.
Ahmed at first, 2 outs, no score in the top of the second inning. Diaz rips this one fair up the left field line and rolling all the way into the corner. Ahmed is about to hit third base, going to be waved by Tim Leeper. Throw rolls in towards third. RBI double Elias Diaz, and the Padres on the board here in the top of the second.
Martin Perez was good early on for the Padres. 3 scoreless innings to begin his day. The D-backs had some early scoring chances, but they were 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position in the first 3 innings. That brought us to the bottom half of the 4th inning. Padres still ahead at 1-0. Arizona got it going. Christian Walker hit a 1-out double. Randall Grichuk singled to send Walker to third base. Eugenio Suarez was next.
First pitch, Suarez swings, lines it into left center field. That is a base hit. Walker comes in to score. RBI single, Eugenio Suarez, and a 1-1 game in the bottom of the 4th.
D-backs were unfortunately far from done. That brought up Jake McCarthy.
Hit. 1-1, hard hit through the right side of the base hit. Walker charges it. Grichuk's going to be waved. Here comes the throw to the plate. It bounces and rolls. Not in time. Go ahead single, Jake McCarthy, and Arizona in front for the first time today. It's 2-1.
So a 2-1 Arizona lead. Gabriel Moreno was next.
Perez delivers, and there's a hard hit liner into deep left field. Peralta going back, turns around, watches it hang off the wall. Suarez rounding third on his way. McCarthy will be held at third, and Moreno into second with an RBI double.
Geraldo Perdomo then hit an RBI ground out to make it a 4-1 game. Later in the inning, it was Ketel Marte.
Runner on third, 2 outs. Swings at the first pitch, and it's one a mile to left field. Peralta not even going to turn around. This has found the second deck in left at Chase Field. And the Diamondbacks have broken out here in the bottom of the 4th inning. A long 2-run homer for Marte, and it is 6-1 Arizona.
So it was a 6-run inning. Perez couldn't get out of the 4th. Matt Waldron took over. Waldron allowed a run in the bottom half of the 5th inning to make it 7-1. Meanwhile, Brandon Pfaadt settled in for Arizona. He pitched into the 6th inning, ultimately charged with another run after he gave up a double to Luis Arraez. Arraez later scored on an RBI ground out to make it a 7-2 game. We'll talk more about Arraez coming up a little bit later, because certainly a lot to chew on with him today, with Arraez searching for a 3rd consecutive batting title. Waldron kept on working. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. hit an RBI triple in the 7th inning to give Arizona an 8-2 lead. And after that, the D-backs would tack on Suarez with a home run in the 7th inning to make it 9-2. And then in the 8th inning, it was Randall Grichuk, a 2-run home run to make it 11-2. Good job by the D-backs bullpen today. Joe Mantiply got 2 outs. Ryan Nelson actually got a save. He went 3 scoreless innings in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. And that was it here today. Final score, Arizona 11, San Diego 2, in a game that meant a whole lot to the Diamondbacks, did not mean much to the Padres, and the Diamondbacks, with the win, they do stay alive in the NL wildcard race. Keep that in mind. Had the Diamondbacks lost this game, they would have been eliminated. Braves would have clinched the spot. Mets would have clinched the spot. The Mets won in Milwaukee, so the Diamondbacks do survive one more day. It doesn't mean they're going to make the postseason, but it does mean they have a chance depending on the results in Atlanta tomorrow. So from an Arizona perspective, a big win for the D-backs, and the Padres fall 11-2. We'll step aside. When we return, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Much more to do. We'll talk about Luis Arraez, what he did today. We'll get even deeper into some of the implications for the Braves and the Mets and the pitching heading into tomorrow. Because, look, bottom line is this. Even though the Padres aren't playing tomorrow, I mean, I'm going to be paying attention. Frank's going to be paying attention, certainly. And you should pay attention, too, to what happens tomorrow in Atlanta, because it could have real implication on the Padres wildcard series beginning on Tuesday at Petco Park in a number of different respects. Final score, Diamondbacks 11, Padres 2. Our postgame coverage continues after this. Our postgame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score here today, Arizona 11 and San Diego 2 as the Padres drop game 162 of 2024. The regular season has come to an end, 93-68. The Padres' final record in the regular season, the second best record in franchise history behind only the 1998 Padres, who won 98 games. So a great second half, really what was a great, entertaining season for the Padres in the regular schedule. It comes to an end here today, but the good news, much more to come, hopefully, as the Padres begin the postseason this week at Petco Park. Sam Levitt with you on our postgame coverage here on the Padres Radio Network. Again, the Padres had an early 1-0 lead in today's game. Then Martin Perez, who had thrown 3 scoreless innings to begin his day, he gave up 6 runs in the 4th inning. Inning sort of unraveled on him, and from that point on, it was all Arizona. They got 1 more in the 6th inning, a home run in the 7th inning, another 2-run home run in the 8th inning. Matt Waldron would come in to a nice job at least eating up some innings. 4 innings, 5 runs given up for Waldron, and that was that here today as the Padres fall 11-2 on a day where the Padres sat again a number of their regulars, rightfully so, but Luis Arraez did play, did pick up a hit, his 200th of the season, and is in a very, very good position to win yet another batting title. Would be a third consecutive batting title for Luis Arraez. With all that in mind, let's hear from the Padre manager, Mike Shildt, after today's game.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
Hey, Mike, the score not what you wanted, obviously, but a special moment in the ballgame with Luis getting that 200th hit and locking in his third consecutive batting title. How special was that for him? And it seemed like the team really enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's an individual accomplishment that we want to celebrate. Wow, what amazing hitter, what amazing guy. You know, he's been a huge part of this group. I don't think there's any coincidence. I think the record bears it out since we acquired Louis, what he's meant to this club. And that's impressive. 3 batting titles, 3 different years, 3 different clubs. You know, we just celebrate amongst the group. Everybody's happy for him. We did say that we expect the next couple to come from San Diego, though.
As far as Matt Waldron getting an opportunity, that was nice for him to be able to rejoin the ball club after what he contributed during the season.
Yeah, it worked out really well in the sense of, you know, Matty's a big reason why we're moving forward. He was the guy that took innings, took the ball, and pitched very successfully and fortified, you know, our rotation when the rotation was in flux with, you know, Joe and you, and he did a tremendous job. So it was fitting that he was able to come in and pitch today, and so it was good to get him back out there.
Mission basically accomplished these last 2 days, being able to get some guys off their feet, still get a couple of ABs and rest the bullpen a little bit.
Mission accomplished. You know, we were able to go out and, you know, win a game yesterday and you know, expected to do it today. Just came up short. You know, they had a big inning. We just couldn't back from it. But, yeah, the mission, you know, to get ready for Tuesday was accomplished, and making sure guys stayed sharp enough to get their bats but kept guys off their feet, and being able to rest our bullpen that carried the mail quite a bit. So, we're in a good spot to move forward for Tuesday.
Do you anticipate the next couple of days or the next day being like while you're watching the Madison Braves?
Yeah, you know, I'm still, you know, I've been focusing on us, you know, how I operate. So I am, you know, clearly aware that they're, you know, got a chance to play tomorrow. We'll play tomorrow, whatever that looks like. But, you know, we'll be ready on Tuesday, and we'll be prepared and eager and hungry to go compete.
Do you have any special, like, will the team get together to watch those games? You know, that's what the Diamondbacks said they were doing.
Yeah, I don't expect to watch the game. We're gonna have a workout tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
You know, and we'll work out, and you know, whenever the final out gets tallied and they tell us who we're playing, we'll get ready to compete.
Not knowing who you're playing, are there like decisions, roster decisions, rotation decisions, like lineup decisions that might get set after the fact once you know who you're playing? Does that play into those
perhaps the lineup? I mean, you know, we don't know who's pitching, so that can be a little, you know, but we'll announce our starter tomorrow, and we feel pretty good about our rotation, so it's not going to change regardless of our opponent.
You talked about this a little bit, Bob's question about Luis, but like, can you go more into like why he fits this team so well in this lineup, so you can top of it? Yeah,
it's just this beautiful synergy that's taking place in match that's taking place that you know, Victor and the Manny, Bogey, Toddy, Crony, all, you know, together created this identity of how we wanted to compete, how we wanted our offensive identity to look like, how we're going to play situational, fundamental, good baseball, including being able to get our bunts down, which I know we were towards the top of the league in bunt hits. And then you add Luis to it. He's like the prototype of what we're looking for, a guy that takes tough at bats, can handle the bat, can, you know, move the ball around. He's really good with 2 strikes, puts the ball in play. So it just fortified, you know, the identity and entrenched it a little bit more. And then another question about Luis, and I don't want to take anything away from him, but when you add professional hitters like Solano and Peralta to the mix, that only, you know, continued to make sure everybody knew, like, this is who we are, this is how we play.
So I don't know whether you realize it or not, but he's now spoiled a triple crown for Judge 2 years ago, and Ohtani.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, you know, and you know, that maybe one day he can win a triple crown. Maybe they spoil his one day. I wouldn't put anything past Louis, but I think we'll stay with the kind of game he's got going now.
Hi, Mike.
Yes, sir.
What about the unsung presence for Yuki? 6 full games in the second in the team, and there's only 2 guys who made those throughout the season.
Yes, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Yuki pitched. We mentioned Matt Waldron, but Yuki was a guy that's toted the mail for us and done a great job all year. Been there all year, and a little bit of a learning curve to come in. Relative to not only a new league but new country, and he's fit in beautifully. He's done a great job, and he's got lefties, righties out, and he's been a big part of our bullpen. He's helped a lot.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt after today's 11-2 loss in Arizona. Again, a game that did not mean a whole lot to the Padres as they rested a number of regulars. They had Martin Perez starting. Matt Waldron came in, ate up a lot of innings today. Good job by Matt in that sense. And, hey, again, Luis Arise with a base hit. He ends the year at a .314 batting average. When we come back, we'll talk more about Arise, get a little bit deeper into that because it appears that Luis will win a 3rd consecutive batting title. Remember, Marcell Ozuna gets 2 cracks at a couple of games tomorrow, but I'll say this before we get deeper into it. Marcell Ozuna, would need very, very long extra inning games tomorrow, and he would have to have, an unbelievable number of hits in those 2 games that I don't think that's going to happen. So we'll talk more about that when we come back. We'll also continue to talk about the doubleheader tomorrow in Atlanta, what it means for the Padres and beyond. Final score, Arizona 11, San Diego 2. Our postgame coverage continues when we return. Our postgame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score here today, Diamondbacks 11 and the Padres 2 as these 2 teams wrap up their respective regular seasons. Padres finished the regular season at 93 and 68 with the win. The Diamondbacks live to see one more day as far as their NL wildcard hopes, and now it sets up a huge Doubleheader tomorrow in Atlanta between the Mets and the Braves. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. All the implications, all the pitching things to consider that may affect the Padres this week. So we'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. It's another beautiful day for a ball game and Military Sunday at that. San Diego County Toyota dealers are proud partners of the Padres and supporters of San Diego's military community. Thank you to all military members for your incredible service. Let's tell you about today's relief pitcher of the game.
Which pitcher was able to come in and slam the door shut? It's time for the relief pitcher of the game in support of the Jacobs and Cushman San Diego Food Bank, providing food assistance to local children, families, and seniors in need. To get help or give help, visit SanDiegoFoodBank.org.
Our relief pitcher of the game, I'm not in the mood to give it to an Arizona Diamondback. So you know who I'm going to give it to on this final day of the regular season? I'm not giving it to Matt Waldron either. 4 innings, gave up 5 runs, though. Did eat up a lot of innings. Did his job. That was his job today, Waldron. Eating up innings. I'm giving it to Yuki. 1 pitch, 1 out, did his job. Yuki Matsui, our relief pitcher of the game. That's my decision today. Frank does not like it. Now, Frank has a good point. Matt Waldron did a good job today. His job today was not results-based. It was eating up innings. But hey, come on, Yuki. 3 pitches, shut the door in the 8th inning. Going with Yuki here today. Frank doesn't like it. Listeners probably don't like it either. But hey, I'm giving it to Yuki. Matt did a good job today. Ate up some innings and did his job. That's what he was asked to do, regardless of the runs given up. And certainly Waldron did that. So a tip of the cap to Matt Waldron, Yuki Matsui, our relief pitcher of the game. Let's talk about one of the real bright spots from this game and really things to talk about from this game. And as we wrap up the regular season on the Padres side of things, let's tell you about today's player of the game.
Which player had the biggest impact on today's game? Let's find out who is today's player of the game. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Catch every game at Patties and Pints. Plus, enjoy $4 beer every Thursday. Visit valleyviewcasino.com today.
In 99. 1-1 pitch out towards the right center field gap. Carroll on the move, not going to get there. And it's down for extra bases. A rise into second with a double, his 200th hit of the season, and he may have just locked up the Tony Gwynn Award as the batting champion of the National League.
Hit number 200 on the season for Luis Arraez, a double in the 6th inning. And he very well may have locked up the batting title in the National League. He is our player of the game today for picking up that 200th hit of 2024 between his time with the Marlins and the Padres. If Luis Arraez wins the batting title, and it certainly appears he will before we get to the final results of the regular season tomorrow, he'll become the first player in baseball's modern era to win a batting title with 3 different teams. He's won 1 with the Twins, 1 with the Marlins. This would be 1 with the Padres. So a first in modern era baseball history. He's already the only player to win a batting title in the American League and the National League in consecutive seasons. Did that in 22 and 23 with the Twins and the Marlins. He'll also, and he already is, one of just 8 American League and National League players since 1900 to win batting titles with multiple teams. So, Luis Arraez will finish the year at a batting average of .314 between his time with Miami and San Diego this season, and 200 hits even. Shohei Ohtani came pretty darn close to winning a Triple Crown. He will finish the year hitting .310, 4 points behind Arraez, 54 home runs for Ohtani, 130 RBIs. So the only thing that stood between Ohtani and a Triple Crown was Luis Arraez, who hit 4 points better as far as batting average. The reason it's not final yet, although it appears he's got it locked up, is Marcell Ozuna is at .304. Now, he's 10 points behind Arraez. Ozuna, who knows if he even ends up playing both ends of the doubleheader tomorrow. If the Braves win Game 1, he may not. But I don't even need to do the math, and we could have done the math. But you got 2 games left. He'd have to pick up 10 points on Arraez in 2 games. So not only would he need to have, I would assume, like almost perfect days as far as hits and at-bats, but he would also have to have a lot of them. He'd have to play long games, and again, who knows if he even ends up playing the second game. So we're talking about something that I would say has a minuscule chance of happening, and that's Ozuna catching a rise. So look, I don't think it's technically all final until every game is played, and you've got somebody like Ozuna, 10 points away, but it is highly, highly unlikely. In fact, I don't know. You may do the math, and it may be like he's got to have 15 at-bats to even do it. I don't know the math off the top of my head, and I know Jesse and Tony were trying to do it as well. It's a tough thing to do. It's not that tough, but it takes a little time. But the point is, in all likelihood, I think it's safe to say Luis Arraez is going to win a third consecutive batting title, which is amazing. It's amazing. One of the best pure hitters we've seen in a very, very long time, and certainly in baseball history. Just very rare to have the bat-to-ball skills he does, and even dealing with the hand injury for a good chunk of this season and the knee the last couple of weeks to still hit 314. I think it says a great deal about who Arraez is and the kind of hitter he is. So I'm going to congratulate him. Again, I guess it's not final until the games are done tomorrow. But 314 to end the year for Luis Arraez. We'll step aside. When we return, we'll have our play of the game. We'll take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, wrap things up, put a bow on the regular season, and say goodbye for the 162 before we get ready for the postseason. And we'll talk a little bit more about that doubleheader tomorrow because the Braves have talked about their pitching plans already, and that part is really interesting. And again, could play an impact on the Pods. Final score, D-backs 11, Padres 2. Postgame coverage continues after this. Our post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score today, Diamondbacks 11 and the Padres 2. Sam Levitt with you on this Sunday as we wrap things up here in the regular season. Padres beginning the postseason this week on Tuesday against somebody at some time. We don't know the answers to that yet. So let's discuss even further, in case you missed it earlier, why we don't have the answers to that yet. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We take a look at the scores today from around the major leagues. Again, most of these games did not really mean anything, but some of them certainly did. One game still going on right now. Pirates and the Yankees tied at 4 in New York in the 7th inning. Other finals, Phillies beat the Nationals 6-3 in D.C. Cardinals beat the Giants 6-1 in San Francisco. Reds beat the Rays 3-1 in Boston. Marlins beat the Blue Jays 3-1 in Toronto. Rangers beat the Angels 8-0 in Anaheim. Orioles beat the Twins 6-2 in Minnesota. White Sox beat the Tigers 9-5 in Detroit. So how about that? The White Sox, they set the record for most losses in a season by one game, 121. Nice job, White Sox. You only beat it by one. 41-121, the final record for the Chicago White Sox. Dodgers beat the Rockies 2-1 in Colorado. Here are the games that meant something. Mets beat the Brewers 5-0 in Milwaukee. Francisco Lindor, a home run in that game for New York. Mariners beat the A's 6-4 in Seattle. That one notable because it was the final game of the Oakland Athletics. They ain't going to be the Oakland A's next year. I guess they're going to be called the Athletics. That's the rumor, that they'll just go by Athletics next year. I don't believe they're going by the Sacramento A's. But that is the final, at least as we know it, unless the Oakland A's come back at some point. It's the final Oakland A's game. That is hard to believe. They lose it 6-4 in Seattle. Reds beat the Cubs in 10, 3-0. Royals beat the Braves 4-2. In Atlanta, Michael Massey hit a 3-run home run in the first inning in that game. Braves had a lot of opportunities in the late innings with runners on base. They could not find a big hit. Royals beat the Braves 4-2. We did have one postponement today. Astros and the Guardians, they were postponed due to rain. And postponed is really the wrong word. Canceled due to rain in Cleveland. So the Astros and the Guardians will play only 161 in 2024. I hate that. I know there's absolutely no reason to make it up, and why would they? But it just feels weird. Like when you look at the year by year of the franchise and you see a year where they don't play 162, it just feels weird, but that's going to be the history now for the Astros and the Guardians in 2024. That's a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. So let's one more time talk about the scenario that happened today. And again, to me, and I think to many of you out there, despite the Padres losing today, this was the best case scenario for the Padres from a playoff perspective. Mets win, D-backs win, Braves lose. What it means, the Braves and the Mets now have to play both games of tomorrow's doubleheader. Neither are currently guaranteed of a playoff spot. We do know that one of those teams will head to San Diego for the wild card series beginning on Tuesday. It will be the Braves if they win one of those games. It will be the Mets only if they win both of those games. Each team needs at least one win, the Braves and the Mets, to both secure postseason spots. If the Braves sweep, then it's the D-backs getting in. If the Mets sweep, then it's the Mets and D-backs getting in. The only way the D-backs get in is if there's a sweep in the doubleheader tomorrow. And like we said earlier, it brings up a very interesting scenario where how does the team that wins game one of the doubleheader, A, approach game two, and how much incentive do they have to win it? Okay, there could be a scenario tomorrow where you've got a team playing for nothing in game two of that doubleheader. In fact, one of the teams will have that. And then it's going to be fascinating to see if that team ends up really, really going for it or just finds a way to win a game and they keep the opponent, whether it's the Braves or the Mets, totally out of the postseason. Let's, before we wrap up the conversation here and hear a play of the game, let's preview the pitching situations of that doubleheader tomorrow because, again, it does play a role for the Padres. It does have an impact on the Padres. The Braves are saying, and this is according to David O'Brien, who covers the Braves, and Mark Bowman, who also covers the Braves. I've seen two tweets now. Spencer Schwellenbach will start game one of that doubleheader. That is confirmed. Chris Sale, according to the Braves, would start game two if the Braves lose game one. Now, remember, if the Braves win Game 1, they have got no incentive to pitch Chris Sale in Game 2. And how does that impact the Padres? Well, if the Braves win Game 1 and they don't got to pitch Sale in Game 2, guess who's probably starting Game 1 of the Wild Card Series against the Padres on Tuesday? The likely National League Cy Young Award winner, Chris Sale. So if you're a Padres fan and the Braves are going to be the team that comes here, to me, you are rooting for the Mets in Game 1 tomorrow, and you are rooting for the Braves to have to pitch Chris Sale. Now, if the Mets still win Game 2, then the Mets are coming here. But if the Braves win, well, hey, they already pitched Sale. So, again, pay attention to that doubleheader tomorrow. It could play a major impact on the series with the Padres. It's nothing the Padres can control. But think about that for a second. Chris Sale could pitch Game 2, and then he misses the wild card series against the Padres if the Braves end up coming here. So that is really, really significant tomorrow. So if you're a Padres fan, I would think you're rooting for the Mets in Game 1 to make sure Chris Sale pitches Game 2 regardless of result if the Braves or Mets win Game 2. For the Mets, they have not confirmed this yet, but this is per Anthony DiComo, covers the Mets for MLB.com. Anthony tweeting, the Mets have not set their pitching yet for tomorrow's doubleheader. They have two options. Start Luis Severino, Game 1, try to make the playoffs right then and there. Save Severino for Game 2, thereby keeping him in play for Game 1 of the wild card series if they can win without him. So, I don't know off the top of my head, and maybe Frank knows. I don't know who the Mets would start in Game 1 if it's not Severino. Maybe that's part of the equation. They don't know either. I don't know. Could be Quintana, I guess. Although he pitched yesterday, right? Quintana, yeah. Quintana. Well, look, it doesn't really matter. We'll find out who's going to pitch Game 1 tomorrow for the Mets. But again, they have that decision with Severino. Severino's been really good for them. Manaea pitched Friday night, so that's 2 days rest. I don't know. Look, it's a tough situation, but that's an interesting, decision they got to make. Do they try to steal Game 1 without Severino, or do you try to take it in Game 1 with Severino? I'd almost say you want to try to steal the game without Severino first, but that would be me. I don't know. Fascinating. Really, really is. And again, if the Mets win both games, remember, they're going to have to use a ton of pitching tomorrow. So that's why, either way, no matter what happens, it was ideal for the Padres to get these two teams to have to play meaningful games tomorrow in Atlanta, and then the travel part of it have to come to San Diego for Tuesday's game. So that's a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, the doubleheader tomorrow. I would highly encourage you to pay attention to that doubleheader. It's going to be really fascinating, intense baseball. And just so you know, Game 1 of that doubleheader tomorrow, that begins at 10:10 a.m. here in San Diego. So bright and early, get up and watch it. Enjoy it. Padres aren't playing tomorrow, but that's that on the out-of-town scoreboard and with the doubleheader tomorrow. Final score, Arizona 11, San Diego 2. Let's hear today's play of the game.
What was the crucial play that determined who came out on top? This is today's Play of the Game, presented by Bill Howe Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
Runner on third, 2 outs. Swings at the first pitch, and it's one a mile to left field. Peralta not even going to turn around. This has found the second deck in left at Chase Field. And the Diamondbacks have broken out here in the bottom of the 4th inning. A long 2-run homer for Marte. And it is 6-1 Arizona.
Ketel Marte, 2-run home run in the 4th inning, capped that 6-run inning for the Diamondbacks, and the game did turn against Martin Perez in that 4th inning. 6-1, Diamondbacks would not look back. They go on to win it 11-2. So unfortunately, that is today's play of the game. The Marte home run, a 2-run shot in the 4th inning. As always, if you missed any of our post-game show, you can go back and listen to all of it on the Inside San Diego Baseball podcast with Sam Levitt, available on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcasts. You can also go watch any portion of our post-game shows on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel. As far as what is next, again, what we know, the Padres presumably will begin the wild card round on Tuesday at Petco Park. We don't know against who. We're going to find out out tomorrow when the Mets and the Braves play, depending on what happens there, like we've discussed for the last 50-plus minutes. We don't know against who. We don't know what time. Stay tuned to 97.3 The Fan. Ben and Woods will be with you bright and early, 6 a.m. tomorrow. I'm sure covering every aspect of what's going on tomorrow, all the possibilities. And, of course, stay tuned to our social media, Twitter, or X as they call it now, Instagram, Facebook. Stay tuned to our social media. We will keep you posted on what the latest news is, what the matchups look like for the Padres. But again, we know wild card round beginning on Tuesday at Petco Park. Stay tuned beginning at 6 a.m. tomorrow for more information. Final totals here tonight for the D-backs. 11 runs, 16 hits, no errors. They left on 8. For the Padres, 2 runs, 4 hits, no errors. They left on 2. Winning pitcher Brandon Pfaadt, who's now 11-10. Losing pitcher Martin Perez, who's 5-6. And the save goes to Ryan Nelson, his first of the year. He went 3 scoreless innings. Time of game, 2 hours and 40 minutes, and the crowd at Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona, 38,892. Once again, presumably, we will talk to you on Tuesday before Game 1 of the Wild Card Series at Petco Park. Until then, for our great studio coordinator, Frank Marchese, I'm Sam Levitt saying so long from inside our San Diego studios. Again, the final score here today, the Arizona Diamondbacks 11 and the San Diego Padres 2. The Padres finish at 93-68 in the 2024 regular season.